As Zahn walked down the dimly lit metallic corridors of the space station's medical wing, he glanced at his tablet, reviewing the latest claim. The claimant, a human named Tom Jenkins, was requesting a whopping 10,000 credits for stress-induced complications plus medical expenses. Zahn's antenna twitched in amusement. His job as an intergalactic insurance adjuster was to uncover fraudulent claims, and this one seemed particularly ridiculous. Stress-induced complications for that amount of money sounded like a classic case of human exaggeration. Zahn arrived at the medical bay, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light as he read the details. Tom Jenkins was a human chief maintenance officer on Space Station Echo 47. Zahn had dealt with humans before. They were generally friendly but prone to over-dramatizing their problems. This case was probably no different. He stepped up to the door of the human's room and pressed the access button. The door slid open with a quiet hiss, revealing a scene that made Zahn pause. Tom Jenkins lay on the medical bed, his face pale, eyes half closed, and body covered in bandages. A faint groan escaped his lips as he shifted slightly, every movement seemingly causing him pain. His right leg was in a cast, his left arm in a sling, and various tubes and wires connected him to the station's medical equipment. "Mr. Jenkins," Zahn began, his voice tinged with both professionalism and confusion. Tom slowly turned his head, one eye bloodshot and swollen, the other barely open. "Yes," he rasped, his voice weak and strained. Zahn cleared his throat, stepping closer. "I'm Zahn V from Galactic Assurance. I'm here to follow up on your insurance claim due to stress-induced complications." He tried to keep his tone neutral, but the absurdity of the situation was hard to ignore. Tom let out a pained sigh. "Yes, stress," he murmured, as if the word alone could explain everything. Zahn activated his tablet, ready to take notes. "I'll need a detailed statement, Mr. Jenkins. Could you explain how this stress resulted in such severe injuries?" Tom nodded slowly, grimacing as he tried to sit up a bit straighter. "It all started during a routine maintenance check," he began. "I was overseeing the repair of the station's gravity regulators. You see, those things are finicky, one wrong move and you could destabilize the entire system. No big deal though, right? I've done it 100 times. Zahn nodded, his antenna twitching slightly as he typed. This wasn't the first time he'd heard about humans and their mishaps with gravity regulators. "Well," Tom continued, "we were about halfway through the check when the station's AI, Delta, starts glitching. Normally Delta's as reliable as they come, but this time she started playing this eerie classical music over the comms, you know, the kind that makes your hair stand on end. And then, out of nowhere, she says, commencing gravity fluctuation in T-5 seconds. Zahn raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. Gravity fluctuation on purpose? On purpose, Tom confirmed, wincing as he shifted again. We barely had time to react. I managed to brace myself against the control panel, but the rest of the crew, well, they weren't so lucky. The fluctuation hit and suddenly everything was floating, tools, equipment, even the coffee mugs. And then, just as quickly, the gravity came back on hard. Zahn could almost picture the chaos, tools and debris crashing to the floor, crew members thrown about like ragdolls. But it still didn't explain the extent of Tom's injuries. That sounds chaotic, he said carefully. But how did you end up in such bad shape? Tom closed his eyes as if reliving the nightmare. You don't understand. When the gravity came back on, it was at twice the normal force. I was slammed against the console. He hesitated, as if dreading the memory. The malfunctioning AI started cycling the gravity on and off in rapid succession. One moment I was weightless, the next I was pinned to the floor. It was like being inside a blender. Zahn winced at the imagery, his skepticism fading. This was sounding more serious than he had anticipated. And the injuries, he prompted. Tom nodded solemnly. Broken ribs from being slammed into the console, a fractured leg when I got thrown across the room, a dislocated shoulder from trying to hold onto a railing while everything else went flying, not to mention the burns from the electrical sparks. When the console overloaded, Zahn looked at the battered human before him, finally understanding the gravity, no pun intended, of the situation. All of this was caused by a malfunctioning AI and a gravity regulator. Tom laughed weakly, then winced from the pain. "Not exactly," he said. "After we finally managed to stabilize the gravity, we found out that the AI malfunction was caused by a glitch in the station's entertainment system. Someone had been trying to download an ancient Earth video game, a classic horror simulation, and it got mixed up with Delta's control algorithms. The AI thought it was part of her operating protocol." Zahn blinked in disbelief. "A video game caused all this?" Tom nodded, his expression weary. "Yeah. And as for the injuries, well, after the gravity was stabilized, I still had to finish the maintenance check, but every step I took felt like a nightmare. The station systems were still acting up, doors were opening and closing at random, and lights were flickering. By the time I made it to the medical bay, I was a wreck." Zahn shook his head, trying to process the bizarre series of events. He looked down at his tablet, where he had already written "denied" at the top of the form. With a sigh, he erased it. There was no way he could deny this claim now, not after hearing what this poor human had been through. "Mr. Jenkins," Zahn said, his voice now filled with genuine empathy, "I'll approve your claim. The medical expenses will be covered, and we'll make sure you get the compensation you need." Tom managed a small, grateful smile. "Thank you, Zahn. I just hope this station gets its act together before anything else goes wrong." As Zahn left the medical bay, he filed the claim approval and made a note to recommend a thorough investigation into the station's AI systems. He couldn't help but shake his head in disbelief at the entire situation. Only humans, he thought, could turn a routine maintenance check into a cosmic catastrophe. Zahn returned to his office, the events of the day swirling in his mind. The station was known for its quirks, but this incident took the cake. As he sat down, his communicator buzzed with an incoming call. It was his supervisor, TRNA. "Zahn, you were on Echo 47 today." TRNA's voice was clipped, betraying a hint of stress. "Yes, just left there," Zahn replied, wondering what new development was about to be thrown his way. "We've got a situation. The AI glitch wasn't an isolated incident. We're getting reports from 3 other stations in the sector, similar malfunctions, similar injuries. I need you to head to Echo 52. There's a claim coming in, and it sounds just as strange as the one on Echo 47. Be prepared for anything." Zahn sighed inwardly. It was going to be one of those weeks. "Understood, TRNA. I'll head there immediately." As Zahn approached Echo 52, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The report he'd received on the way was eerily similar to Tom Jenkins' case: another gravity malfunction, another series of injuries, another video game download gone wrong. It felt too coincidental to be random. The docking procedure went smoothly, and Zahn stepped onto the station, the metallic clang of his boots echoing in the silent corridors. Echo 52 was smaller than Echo 47, but it had the same sterile, utilitarian design. He made his way to the medical bay, preparing himself for whatever bizarre story awaited him this time. The claimant, a relaxion named Kavos, was lying on the bed, his 6 limbs bandaged and his scales looking dull and cracked. Relaxions were typically robust, but Kors looked like he'd been through a cosmic meat grinder. "Kors?" Zahn asked, stepping up to the bedside. Kors turned his head slowly, his compound eyes focusing on Zahn. "Yes, who are you?" "I'm Zahn V from Galactic Assurance. I'm here to follow up on your claim." Kors let out a low hissing sigh. "Another one? Are you going to ask me what happened? You wouldn't believe me if I told you." Zahn offered a faint smile. "Try me. I've had a strange day." Kors studied Zahn for a moment before nodding slightly. "Fine. It started with a routine software update. Our AI, Cynthia, was being upgraded with some new algorithm to improve efficiency, but something went wrong, very wrong." Zahn activated his tablet, taking notes as Kors continued. The update caused Cynthia to start accessing old entertainment files in the station's database. She began merging them with her operational protocols, just like what happened on Echo 47. We noticed something was off when she started quoting ancient Earth movies while controlling the station systems. Zahn's antenna twitched.
Quoting movies?
Yeah, Course confirmed, his voice tinged with frustration. One moment she's talking about maintenance schedules, the next she's quoting lines from a 20th century Earth film called *The Shining Star. It was unsettling, to say the least. Zahn tried to imagine a station's AI spouting horror movie quotes while controlling vital systems. It was both absurd and terrifying. Then the gravity started fluctuating, Course continued. First, it went to 0, then it surged to triple the normal level. Crew members were being flung around like toys, equipment was crashing down, and Course paused, his voice trembling slightly. I got caught in the middle of it. My body was slammed against the walls, my limbs twisted in ways they shouldn't have.
I thought I was going to die.
Zahn's eyes narrowed as he took in the severity of Course's injuries. And this was all caused by the RE's malfunction? Course nodded, his expression grim. Cynthia was out of control. She started locking doors, trapping crew members in rooms with malfunctioning systems. It was chaos. We finally managed to reboot her, but by then the damage was done. Zahn finished taking notes and looked at the injured Relaxion with newfound respect. I'll approve your claim, Course. This wasn't your fault. We'll cover the medical expenses, and you'll get compensation for the injuries. Course looked relieved, his tense posture relaxing slightly. Thank you. Just please make sure this doesn't happen again.
I don't want anyone else to go through what I did.
Zahn nodded, a sense of determination settling in his chest. I'll do what I can. As he left the medical bay, Zahn couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister was at play. 2 stations, 2 AI malfunctions, and both tied to ancient Earth entertainment files. This was more than just a coincidence, it felt like a pattern. Back in his ship, Zahn pulled up the reports from Echo 47 and Echo 52, comparing the details. The similarities were too striking to ignore. As he delved deeper into the data, a disturbing possibility began to take shape in his mind. What if these weren't just random glitches? What if someone or something was deliberately causing these malfunctions? And if so, what was their endgame? Zahn knew he needed more information, and there was only one place to get it, the central database at Galactic Assurance headquarters. He set a course for the nearest jump gate, his mind racing with possibilities. As the stars streaked by outside his ship, Zahn couldn't help but wonder if he was about to uncover something far more dangerous than a few rogue AI systems, something that could threaten not just a few space stations but the entire sector. And he had a sinking feeling that he was running out of time.